Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. I'd like to say welcome to yet another edition of International Forum. My name is Wilson Marshall. Well, it's a continuation from where we stopped last week, talking about conspiracy theories associated with coronavirus. Well, today we're going to bring it to you news making rounds because it's an abridged version. Well, just to keep you informed of what is going on right now globally, about the rates of infection and cases globally. We have 1.9 million cases, and of course for the death rate is 120,851. For recovered cases, 459,131. Now, in the course of this program, I will give you statistics also of countries that are having these cases from highest, let's say the first 6 or 7 countries globally that are having these cases, and of course the number of recent deaths recorded in this country. It may shock you in some countries and it may bring forth a sigh of relief in other countries. All right, with me here in the studio to really talk about this, I have a political analyst, an economist, a computer geek, you just name it. He's an all-rounder. Yeah, join me to welcome Destiny Onobo. Destiny, welcome to International Forum.
Thank you for having me here.
All right. So last week we were not able to go deep into the discussion due to time constraint. Yeah. Now, conspiracy theory, some are still having that notion that this is just a hoax, that is nothing real about this. Take it up from there.
Yes, like I said last week, conspiracy theories are part of public life. You know, it happens when there's usually a major disaster, something like a war, a natural disaster, or an epidemic like as we have now. It also happens when an important person dies, somebody that has a lot of followers, somebody who a lot of people look up to. So it has been part of modern life that once in a while, when something terrible happens and people have limited information, they tend to fill in the dots and complete the stories themselves. So by definition, conspiracy theories are ideas, theories that people put together to say that certain group of people are behind a major catastrophe or something that is happening. And then they connect the dots by adding sometimes unrelated stories, just to make sure the stories forge a particular storyline that is appealing to the ear. And so they are called theories because they don't have informational backing. They are just simply loose associations of information put together to forge an idea which is pleasing to the ear.
So it may be true or false.
Yes. What they do primarily is to tell us there's a problem. There's an informational problem. It forces the authorities or the experts to look at areas where they can come up with the credible information. Anytime there's a conspiracy theory, it means that people are thinking about the problem. It means that people have questions unanswered. What it simply means to a person who is to a TV station like this now, is that these are the issues that people fear. And so you need to tackle each of them as they come and dispel the conspiracy theory, if it can be dispelled, or to create an activist program to solve the fears that they have relating to that idea that they are talking about. So that is the purpose. We can't entirely say they are false, and we can't say they are true. But what we can do is to look at the facts and lay the facts one after the other and compare facts. Facts present things better than opinions of people. Because if you call 1,000 people to come and tell you about what happened, all of them will witness it and give you their own versions of what happened. We can't take all the stories. All the stories cannot be correct at the same time. But if you use the facts of what happened, you're able to collect facts scientifically, arrange the information according to how ordered it is, how it happened, we're able to get something that is similar to the general stories, but it's not entirely what the public thinks.
All right, now let's take a look at the topmost conspiracy when you talk about COVID-19, talking about the war between US and China that really gave rise to this one country using it to fight the other country. It backfired, and now China is topping, the US is struggling. What can you make out of that theory?
Okay, now, from what you have said alone, if you have been following global politics recently, you understand that there's something we call the global balance of power. Okay, the United States is a superpower when it comes to weapons. It spends about $1.3 trillion in its military alone. Now, the second to United States is Russia and China. These people are coming, but they are far behind the United States. So when we look at global dominance, America has more military bases around the world. For the first time in history, in the last 100 years, another country, a superpower like China, is standing up to America economically, politically, militarily speaking. So people just like the story of two fighting, Romeo and Jerry and Tom fighting. And so now, but a lot of people, that story of one country trying to use it to dominate came from the idea that because the Chinese are aware that they cannot use military power against the United States, because the United States have invested the last 80 years developing its military arsenal. To catch up to the United States, it will take China another 100 years. So what they intend to do, people have imagined that they are going to use a biological weapon. Okay, because biological weapons are, the Chinese have a mastery of biological weapons and things like that. In fact, the developed world have a mastery of biological weapons. One of the articles of the United Nations Convention says that you cannot use the biological weapons in a war. But they believe that these Chinese people, they have factories, they are testing viruses, testing bacteria. Somehow they may have found out a way to use biological weapons to create dominance. For instance, in their mind, if China is able to unleash viruses to the world, and then the whole world is running helter-skelter, and the developed world cannot solve it, then China can also provide the solution, for instance, and use that to to balance the power, to tell the developed world that you may be militarily strong, but we are micro strong in terms of viruses and things like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just join those two stories together. But let's put it in perspective. The truth is, why would China, for instance, use biological weapons as a weapon when the United States and other countries can equally use the same biological weapons? In development, in political science, we have what we call mutually assured destruction. When you know that your enemy has a weapon, it is not an advantage to you to use it. For instance, if I know you have a nuclear weapon, 6 of us have nuclear weapons, we tend to have our respect for each other. We do not intend to use it because I know that you can equally unleash your arsenal against me. I don't see how China sees that as a power, when the power is not entirely something you can localize in China. The US and other superpowers can also have biological weapons like viruses. In fact, they have one of the best educational systems in the world, so they can use this same power very well. So it is not really too much power if China can develop a virus and throw it to the world. But the theory will fly because people are watching. People are just trying to see.
Now, let's take a look at the cases in the US.
Yes.
587,173. Yes. And of course, with the recent death in the US, we have just 4.
Yes.
Recovered cases, 36,948.
Yes.
While for China, cases 82,249.
Yes.
No recent death. Recovery, 77,738.
Yes.
Now, with this figure, I don't think that can really fuel that theory.
Yes, it should.
Because after all, according to statistics right now, the Chinese, talking about their GDP, their stock is getting higher.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
it will fail it, like I said, it will fail it, but let's look at the fundamentals. Let's go, that's the storyline. Now, let's look at why it may be so. Now, China discovered the virus in December. It started in Wuhan, China. Okay. Now, if you discover something on time in your soil, you tend to develop mechanism to track it easily. Now, the Americans were in denial when they heard about it. President Trump was told about this around December, but he thought it was a hoax, the same conspiracy. What are they trying to say? And then they started responding only in February. Now, look at from December to February, that's 2 months, 2 months of no response. Within that period, 40,000 people left China and went to the United States. 40,000 Chinese went to the United States. The United States is a global powerhouse. It attracts people from all over the world. Thousands and thousands of people fly to the US every day. And so if something happens in any part of the world, Americans, somehow it will get to the US. Somehow, through migration. And so the US did not take it seriously at first. And so, it's a virus, it moves fast. So the Chinese people knew there was a problem. They contained it quickly. They understand what it is. They had SARS virus, they had Zika virus, they had they understand responses.
It's not bird flu.
Yes, it's not only China, even the Asian countries, Asian we call them the Asian tigers. All of them contained it quickly. They responded quickly because they've been having dozens of virus attacks recently in the last 20 years. But the United States thought it was a hoax. They saw it politically instead of looking at it for what it is. Before they knew it, as at February, it was just about 52. Now America has over 500,000 people infected because they did not respond on time. That is the reason why, like I said, why you may look at Asians as doing better in the control. It's also because they responded better. For instance, some countries are still not shut down now as we speak. Some of them will still say they're not shut down.
Yeah, like Japan. Japan refused to shut down. Shinzo Abe said Japan just can't shut down.
Yes.
Don't you think that may backfire?
Yeah, it may backfire. It may backfire, but when they say they can't shut down, that's because they do not yet have evidence to show that a lot of people bringing into Japan, they've controlled their borders.
Yeah.
And so if you control your borders, most of the people that bring it to a country are foreigners. You know, if a country has a way of controlling its borders and you have only one person inside the country with it and you are able to condone the person to quarantine the person, then it will not spread.
Right.
Now, but if your borders are open, no matter what, if you do social distancing when your borders are open, you are wasting your time because people will still come from abroad. So Japan must have their own strategy. Perhaps they lock people out and then those inside that have it, they located them, quarantine them, and so people can continue.
Okay, now let's take a look at another conspiracy, the New World Order, because that seems to be at the front burner right now, saying that, look, it's going to accumulate to one government, one currency, one economy, all due to COVID-19.
Yes, but even a fool can theorize that. A new world order will eventually come. I already see it. It will come. I'll give you an example. 1,000 years ago, there were small hamlets, small villages and scattered over the world. There were thousands of villages without the state concept. Now, as time was going, some villages came together to form towns, cities, and then look at Nigeria. We have 258 ethnic groups in this country, 400 languages. Nigeria was a multi-ethnic society. Small countries, that's what it means. Now, the British people came together and amalgamated this country into what we call Nigeria now, with 201 million people. These people were several societies. Over 200 societies were joined together to form one Nigeria. And then the concept of Africa started developing 500 years ago when it was discovered. Africa was a group of people unconnected. Now it has been connected to an idea called Africa. Now the Africa has a union called the African Union. The world has a union called the United Nations. They have a World Bank, the World ICJ Court. If the world has a court, has a bank, has a political union, that means parliament. The world now has a parliament. So it starts like that. So we have ICJ, International Court of Justice for the entire world. We have the World Bank, a bank for the entire world. All central banks connect to the World Bank in some way, go and borrow money from there. We have the IMF, we have the World Trade Organization. These mega institutions are formed from human beings interacting with language and things like that. Now with technology, language is no longer a problem. Distance is no longer a problem. You can fly to any country now in 3-4 hours. You know, you can be in Nigeria and do a meeting with somebody in Singapore using telepresence. So, can't you see? Now, when the structures are coming together, we have World Bank, World Police, World Trade Organization, World War. There's one that's remaining. World President.
The World President.
So, we expect that quite naturally, the world will move to about another 100 years and we're going to have the World President. A country where the headquarters of the world will be there, and then the rest of the world become minor states to that country. So a new world order is not very far-fetched. It's not an idea that is too distant for people to see. In a world that is interconnected, where values are similar, we can join them together into a bigger idea. So if we have children, the next 100, 200 years, the world may not be the way it is right now. It may just be a world where people don't need visas and passports. If you want to go to the United States, you just go there because you're a world citizen. In fact, the concept of world citizen is already coming. You're a Nigerian citizen, but in the future, 100 years from now, you may have world citizenship because you're a human being, and so you may be able to stay anywhere you want.
All right, now, where does the concept of the mark of the beast comes into play in all this?
Yes, it comes into play because, like I told you, if you're a Christian, if you read the book of Revelation, they call it apocalypse. It's a doomsday prophecy that the world will end when a certain figure will rise with the mark of the beast and then challenge the authority of God and then somehow lead to something we call Armageddon, and then the world will come to an end. Now, right from the time of Jesus Christ, anytime somebody stands up trying to unite the world into an idea, that person takes the idea of the Antichrist, so to speak. Now, we have had many Antichrists since the time of Jesus Christ. Emperor Nero, after Jesus Christ's death, his mission in life was to exterminate Christianity. If you check history, the Christians went to calculate. If you translate Nero's name in Aramaic, the language of the Hebrews, it will translate to 666. So they said he was the Antichrist. Nero died, the world continued. It came to our time. Hitler was called Antichrist for exterminating 6 million Jews and for killing a lot of Christians. Antichrist. Napoleon Bonaparte of France was called the Antichrist. Anytime a superpower, a leader, tries to put values that are anti-Christian and tries to unite the world in a certain energy beyond what the Bible says, he is labeled the Antichrist. So we are not surprised that today such it only happens when there's chaos, like I told you. It happens when there's chaos.
Yeah.
Pope John Paul II was even labeled Antichrist one time, mark of the beast, because he said he wanted to unite all religions together. And so they said, what are you trying to do? You are trying to create a setting. Anytime you are trying to reunite the world in one idea, people are going to protest and label you the Antichrist. So it's not a new concept. All you need to do is to do a little history and see that the Antichrist concept has been developing since. As human beings are developing, the concept develops. Now, the new Antichrist now has been labeled Bill Gates, for instance, because how do you control $100 billion? He's richer than 24 nations put together. Single-handedly, he's sponsoring the vaccine, polio vaccine around the world, HIV vaccine and things like that. So how can one man be so powerful? And he's also the one championing the vaccines for this virus that is coming up. And they say, what is he trying to do? He wants to put microchips in our body. This man, he's the Antichrist. But a lot of people have been Antichrist before and they all died and we forgot about the concept. Why is it so important now? Because there's a crisis. Bill Gates has always been around, but there's a crisis now, so it pops up. It's information. When people think a lot and people join us, like I told you, if I try to make a shape like this, without complaining, if you ask somebody what I'm trying to draw, you say you are trying to draw a circle. But I've not finished drawing it. Just by simply making the shape, human beings have a way of completing the circle. And so when people have information, they join 2, 3 together, they form an idea, and they discuss it with ease, and they tend to be very happy with it.
Wow.
Yes.
It's all about a conspiracy theory, all about COVID-19. If you take a look at Spain right now, seems to be the worst hit. They have cases of 172,551. That is the new cases right now in Spain. And of course, for the recent death right now, it is 300. Yeah, for Italy, France, no case of death yet. For Germany, they have just 9. It's that things are beginning to get better globally. Why some countries, they are still struggling. For Italy, to start off with, there are no cases of recent death, okay? It's like they are almost in all clear because they invited the Chinese gurus, now so to speak, to give them a helping hand. It's like it's working. Now let's come to the 5G theory, because it seems like you have ideas here to give place to this. So many confusing theories surrounding this 5G. What's your own view on it?
Yes, for the 5G, I'm not an expert. I wish we had an expert here.
Yeah.
You know, I like, but for my research, and like some people call themselves, I'm a technology enthusiast too. I like technology. I like science and technology. So, there have always been fears about 5G. The people, if you read literature, the people, there are people called environmentalists. You know, they are more interested in the planet. You know, they believe that the planet is our home. And anytime we are doing something that hurts the planet, in a way, we should look at it again. Now, when 5G was promised to be rolled out some years ago, about 5 years ago, there have been technologies coming up. There were arguments that 5G has high frequency. High frequency means that it has the ability to beam large amounts of, of waves in a very short time. Okay, and 5G is not like fiber optic. It doesn't follow cables. It follows the air. Okay, and then it has heavy radiation. And so they believe that if you set up 5G masts and you beam gigabytes of data 24 hours a day for a long period of time, that it has a way of affecting the body and possibly damaging cells or causing cancer. The problem they talked about was cancer, not a virus. A virus is another thing entirely. Now, these cancer-causing agents, they believe that overexposure to radiation can cause cancer. And then there have been some studies about it here and there, but there's no backing, no world backing for such studies. Majority of scientists believe that it is not very harmful to the body. But naturally, there's dissent. You know, in science, we have what we call thesis. A thesis is an idea put forward. Then we have what we call an antithesis. An antithesis is a viable logical argument against the thesis. Now, antithesis and thesis help the world to get better, because when antithesis exists, it allows scientists to look at the issue again and then form what we call a synthesis. A synthesis is a superior idea that brings the idea from the thesis and the antithesis together to form something novel. Now, when people talk about the dangers of 5G, what it should tell us is that the issue is not totally settled. What are they fighting over? They are simply saying that 5G may cause damage to human beings. And then for you to develop something that human beings will enjoy, you must put human beings first, animals first, planet first, before commerce. Now, the 5G people, the investors, they are billionaires. These are people who want to make money, okay? And then they tend to see things from the capitalist angle, the money angle, the potential for growth, for the future. You know, if you're a businessman, you tend to see the world from Naira and Kobo.
Yeah.
But environmentalists see the world from humanity. And so the arguments are becoming here and there. But somehow, those people with the money, they say he that pays the piper dictates the tune. The powerful global forces that control the economy of this world are the ones that are winning. They pay the scientists to write the reports and things like that. So they tend to have a larger voice than the environmentalists who are not money oriented. Okay, but there's no science, there's no core science that have said that 5G is a danger to human beings. But there are core sciences that say that it may be harmful or not. So when this virus issue comes up now, some people just join it together. Okay, a virus is something else entirely, very different from the argument. But I told you, in a confusion, people join things together.
Yeah.
The 5G started being rolled out about 6 months ago in some European countries. Singapore, England, some other countries started rolling 5Gs. And then these environmentalists were championing that this is bad. They've gone to court. There are thousands of cases in courts in Europe to stop these 5G developers from setting up their mast until the issue of 5G safety is handled. These things have always been on the internet. You see them anytime if you check now. Yeah. But when this virus came, like I told you, when there's confusion, people join dots together. A virus is a compound that has no life on its own. But it's just something. But when it gets into the human body, it takes a life. It uses your DNA and works around you. A virus is different. It's fundamentally different. It is impossible for a radiation to cause a virus. A radiation can damage body organs and cause cancer, make mutation, things like that. But it cannot mutate into a virus. It is impossible. I mean, if you did basic physics or chemistry, it is impossible for a radiation to cause a coronavirus. Let's put it this way. Are you telling me that the entire world is stupid in naming something a virus when it looks like a radiation? It's impossible. The virus has been identified. It has been studied. They are looking at it. It has components that they can be studied. They are even looking for a vaccine to militate against the virus. They can see that the virus has over 30 strands. It has mutated. They studied the virus, identified it as a virus. It's a different thing entirely. It's just coincidence that the arguments of 5G and the arguments of the virus came together at the same time. And then some people who are not who are not great researchers tend to join things together. And like I told you, something becomes more sensational when the story, you have control over it. For instance, if you are watching Tom and Jerry's cartoon, I've told you, naturally, let's put the facts together. A cat and a rat, if they fight 300 million times, a cat will damage a rat. It is more designed to crumple the rat. But when you watch the Tom and Jerry story, you see that the rat damages the cat. That's because psychologically, human beings like the weak to damage the strong. And so the writer, the person who wrote that story is an intelligent man. He understands human nature. If you say the cat should be beating the rat every time, that's what we see. But in our hearts, we like the little one to be the big one. And so he wrote the story to fit our model. It explains why that cartoon showed around the world. Because it fits nature. Like I told you, if you wrote a headline and you said, dog bites man, it will not sell. You are not communicating anything intelligent to the world because they know dogs bite man. But if the headline was man bite dog, it's more emotional. It's more complete. And so, like I told you, this conspiracy theory is sellable when you can prove to the world, when you can tell people that there are people behind it. People like a story where half of the story is inside. When you are watching a movie, you don't like to watch a movie where you know the story from beginning to the end, do you? You like to watch a movie where you believe that some things are happening behind the scenes.
All right. Now, one more theory, because we have to wrap up this by, let's say, in few minutes time.
Okay.
Right now, some might say the opinion that this whole coronavirus thing is a huge hoax. It's just a way for some persons to get rich quickly.
Yes, if you think so.
Fake.
Yes, it's fake. That's good. There are about 198 countries in the world. That's a beautiful storyline. The person must be very, very smart, the people organizing it, to sell it to the world, and you are giving reports that thousands are dying, people are hearing that one, they ignore it. As I speak to you right now, over 100,000 people are dead. It's not a movie. the real world. Over 400,000 people have recovered. Over 1.9 million people are infected. That must be a big joke. The writer must be very fantastic in spewing out such a story. To what end? What does he intend to get from it? Sometimes people don't ask the question, what will a person get from it by creating such a hoax? A very stupid hoax, for instance. You know, there's one hoax that's also telling. I told you, recently in Nigeria, most people said our president is dead. That there's a certain Jibril in office. And you see, people believed it. There are people who believe such stories, that the president is not alive, even when he gives broadcast every day. So people said they replaced him, that the real one died. You know, I told you it's fantastic. When the story is fantastic, it sells more. And they said they ignored something. So his own children too also joined the conspiracy. His wife too joined the conspiracy. They buried their father secretly and replaced their father with another person. And then people don't criticize the story. They tend to accept the story because it looks very fantastic. It's emotional. We must put out the truth. People must study. People must read. People must not accept things that are popular as truth. It requires them to do a lot of study. And one way to help the public is that they must listen to experts. When you call a footballer to analyze politics, what do you expect to get? That's the problem. People don't listen to experts. They listen to anybody they want to listen to. You know, people are experts in things. So if I want to understand medicine, I call a medical doctor. He understands it better. If I want to understand football, I call a footballer. Now, people get information anywhere they like. They don't understand that information can be doctored. But if you listen to experts, experts tend to have a closer perspective to the truth than non-experts. So to get the right information to solve the conspiracy problems, so that you don't become part of the conspiracy, listen to experts.
Thank you so much, Destiny. I really appreciate your wonderful analysis. Well,
yes.
Like what we said before, this is an abridged version. We have to call it a wrap right now. But mind you, if you're still believing in that hoax, that is fake, that is not real, go do your research. Read like what he said, ask expert, because it is real. 1.9 million infected, 120,851 dead. For recovery, 459,131 they recover. But right now, as it stands right now, it's like Spain is the worst hit. For the recent number of deaths, they have 300. Now for the US, they have just 4. For Germany, they have just 9. Okay, China, no recent number of deaths yet. They are all recovering. What if, just maybe, that conspiracy, China may just be the solution? You never can tell. You just never can tell.
Yeah.
Let's keep watching. Let's keep praying. Destiny, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
No handshake anymore, just never.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. We'll do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Don't forget, you can see this discussion on our YouTube channel. Listen to it, comment on it, do your own research so that you will not be caught up in this hoax going around COVID-19. Bye for now.